Hey friends, Andrea here. Today I'm going to show you 3 easy DIY Mother's Day gifts that you can make with things you probably already have at home. So to get started, this first project is an herbal bath soak. And to make this, you're going to need Epsom salt, baking soda, sea salt or Himalayan pink salt, whatever you have on hand, some dried herbs or a tea bag, and a container and an optional sachet. So I'm starting off with the ingredients. Make sure you're using natural sea salt, not regular table salt. And then these are just the variety of herbs and teas that I have on hand. I've got a Truvia container, and I'm using a plastic bowl and a tablespoon to scoop my Epsom salt in. And you'll see that I end up scooping about 12 tablespoons of Epsom salt into my bowl. At the end, I kind of was comparing it to the container that I'm using. It's just a recycled Truvia container. And then I'm going to do some baking soda. I did about 4 tablespoons in there, and I'm just mixing it up really well to make sure I get all the lumps and bumps out of it, because it can get clumpy. Stirring up real good with my little plastic spoon. And then I'm going to do same amount of Himalayan pink salt in this case as the baking soda, so 4 tablespoons, and I'm stirring it up, mixing it up really well. You can definitely use sea salt. I just happen to have the pink salt on. I got that at the Dollar Tree actually. So I happen to have some dried linden flowers or herbs, and then I also have some chamomile. I don't know if you can see that, but some dried chamomile flowers and petals. And I just mixed that all up. I think I got those at a health food store. And then I did another little scoop of the dried lavender buds. And then I'm doing a tablespoon of jasmine tea that I picked up at a Asian market that I've had for a really long time, and it's actually stale. So I just stirred that up really well, and then I'm showing you how you can scoop it into a little sachet. If you're using larger herbs like I am, and you don't want that to get clogged into your bathtub, I would recommend using the sachet. So now I'm just scooping it all into my container. Like I said, this is just a recycled container, but I wanted to use something that was plastic, not something that was glass for around the tub. And I just like upcycling. So there you go, you can see what that looks like at the end, and the sachet is something that you can just dip and reuse into your tub. This is another one I made with just chamomile tea. This is one with peppermint tea, and then this one has the jasmine and the lavender. So this next project is going to be a sugar scrub with coffee. To make this, you're going to need some granulated white sugar, or you could use brown sugar. You're going to need olive oil, or you could use avocado oil, and some used coffee grounds, a container, and your optional makeup or old eyeshadow. So to make the used coffee grounds dried for this project, I just put them into an old pie tin and baked them in the oven until they were dried out. And here I'm just going to be measuring with a teaspoon, just like a plastic teaspoon, and I put 16 rounded teaspoons of the white sugar into this little bowl. And then I'm just going to go ahead and add some of my dried ground coffee. I put 2 little rounded teaspoons in there and just mixing it up really well. And next I'm trying to decide if I want to use olive or avocado. I decided to go with just a teaspoon, just this plastic teaspoon of the olive oil, and I'm mixing it in really well, just to make sure that it's evenly distributed. And I also don't want to put too much, so I decided it needed a second spoonful. And it's hard to really explain what you want the consistency to be, but you don't want it to be really oily. You still want it to kind of look like slightly wet sand, I guess is how I would describe that. And then this step is optional, but I decided, since it had coffee, to just add some old brown eyeshadow that I'm not using anymore. So a lot of times things will call for cosmetic grade mica, and eyeshadow is perfect for that. This is old eyeshadow that I'm never wear anymore, and I save it for this exact purpose. So I used the toothpick, as you saw, to just kind of scrape it and keep it from coming out in a big chunk or a clump that I have to smash into the mixture. So I'm just stirring it up really, really well as best as I can to kind of evenly distribute the makeup, and now I'm just scooping it into my container, and I kind of tap it every once in a while to make sure that it's settling in and that I can just kind of fill the entire container. Lastly, to decorate it, I just threw a few sprinkles of my dried coffee, and I added a little bit of this lighter kind of gold mica on top, and I think that turned out really cute. For this last project, you'll need a little bit more time, but it's going to be a beautiful photo or card hanger. To make this, you'll need yarn or twine, paper clips or binder clips, a dowel or a twig, and wooden beads are optional. You'll also need a pair of scissors. All these items that I have here are from my stash. I've had them for a long time, so it's a bit of a de-stash project for me. With your yarn, you want to go ahead and cut it down. And I chose to do 3 even lengths of yarn and then folded it in half, tied a knot at the top, and then I held the yarn doubled when I braided it. And I just thought that would give it a nicer, thicker braid. If you make a really long strand, then you're going to have some untangling to do, so it might be something that is a little bit obnoxious. And I would give yourself about an hour to complete this project, because the braiding, if you're doing 3 strands like I ended up doing, you will want plenty of time to untangle and to braid and kind of perfect it. If you're going to be adding anything else into it, like wooden beads, then you would want to take your time to kind of find the placement for that. So I just kind of went down and did 3 braids, kind of all the same length, and then I ended up going back and adjusting the length so that the middle one was longer and the 2 on the sides were shorter. You can just do a single strand if you didn't want to do 3 and then skip the dowel and then just have it hang your pictures. So at the end here, I'm just showing you how at the end of my braid I made a knot and then I would trim the bottom down. So here I'm just making my second strand here, and I'm just showing how I started off with the braid. So you can add beads to yours, that's totally optional. I'm just showing some wooden beads because I think that would make it look kind of cute and boho. I will say make sure you find beads that have a large enough hole, because the beads that I tried to get through here, 1 strand went through fine, but trying to get 2 strands, I needed a skewer to help me kind of squeeze it through. And if you're in a time crunch, this might not be the best solution. So try to find beads that are big enough holes to string through. So once you get that pushed all the way up to the top, you can do something like a knot at the bottom just to kind of hold it in place so it doesn't wiggle around. And I think this could look nice at the top and the bottom just to kind of finish it off, but it's totally optional, so if you don't have beads you can skip it. So here I'm just showing how after you knot it you would be able to just start braiding from that point down. I chose to leave the beads off of mine, and I just went with 3 strands, and then what I did for the first strand, so before I had shown this part, I folded this middle strand into even fourths, and then I added the paper clips in to the braid at even intervals. So there's 4, and then I decided to do alternating paper clips on the 2 outside strands. So I'm just showing how I measure how to find the alternating middle piece for the side strands, because I didn't want all the cards or photos or whatever you're going to hang on here to be at the same heights. I wanted them to sort of be staggered. So putting the paper clips in here is really easy. At first, when I was coming up with this idea, I thought I might have to like braid the paper clip in, but then I was like, oh my gosh, you are silly. You can just string it through. It's got a pointy end. So you do have to put it through with the bigger pokey part, and then you have to kind of like rotate it around so that the clip part, basically, the double loop is at the bottom. And so I'm just measuring here to get my two outside pieces exactly the same lengths. And then I am spacing them out onto my dowel, and I do want to go ahead and get a little string attached to the top of the dowel so that I can just hang it on a hook that's already on my wall. So I cut my string, I just kind of measured the dowel and I added a few extra inches, and then I'm going to put the string on. I'm going to tie it on. First I have to peel off this icky label. Hate that they do that, but I'm going to go ahead and get that peeled off. And then to clean it off, you could use Goo Gone or something like that. I think I was just kind of in a rush to get this filmed, so I got white vinegar and a paper towel that was just sitting there already, and I tried to wipe it down as best as I could with white vinegar, but I don't think it did a great job, so I'll be honest, I wouldn't recommend using white vinegar for this, just because it still did leave a lot of sticky residue. So you might be able to sand it off or just use something like Goo Gone to get rid of that sticky residue. So I just knotted it twice on the end, and I left the knot and I just kind of swung it to the back side. So I did the exact same thing on the other side of the dowel, and then I have a little string to hang my dowel with. It's so simple and easy, and I mean, you could make as many strings as you want, but I think 3 looks nice, and then you just got the clips to put your cards or photos onto. And like I said earlier, you could definitely decorate it more with beads to give an even cuter boho look. But I think mine turned out nice. So anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. That's my cat, Louie. And he says that you guys should make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video if you're enjoying it. Maybe someone else would like to see this. Thank you so much. Bye!